addicts. Like, hey, Scoob, did you hear Nikki Blake is hosting a Scooby-Doo panel? No. Yeah. Like on today's Scooby-Doo episode, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy meet Nikki Blake. Yeah, and a Scooby Panel. Like, we need to get this puppy started. Okay, Nikki Blake, take it away, Scooby-Doo.
Welcome to the Scooby Panel. I'm your host, Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com, and today we'll be discussing the Hallmark Keepsake Ornaments with Anita Marra Rogers. Before we begin, I'd like you all to introduce yourselves. So Anita, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Anita Marra Rogers. I'm a keepsake ornament artist.
Wendy?
Hi, I'm Wendy Bridge. I'm a commission artist and a 30-plus year Scooby-Doo collector.
Cameron?
Hey everyone, I'm Cameron with Scooby-Doo and Cameron Too. I'm a Scooby-Doo collector and a big time fan. I'm so excited to be here.
And Tracy?
Hi, I'm Tracy Humphreys. I work at Hallmark alongside all of our card line as well as our keepsakes ornaments. So thanks again for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So Anita, one of the things that I wanted to say before we get started is that I have always remembered your name because you have the same last name as Shaggy. And to me, as soon as I saw that on the back of the Hallmark ornaments, I thought that you were perfect for the job because of that. So
Wow, that's
from
cool.
the first time that I ever saw your name, I never forgot it.
Wow, and I didn't even know that that was Shaggy's last name.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
you learn something new every day.
Okay. So how did you get started with Hallmark and how long have you been a designer for them?
Okay, that's a very good question, or questions, I should say. I've actually been designing keepsake ornaments since October of 1984. So it's been almost 37 years I've been designing keepsake ornaments. But I started designing them as a freelance artist, and I was hired full-time in March of '87. So only 34 and a half years officially. But the way it all came about was I had met an artist who worked in designing keepsake ornaments. His name was Peter Dutkin. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of him, but he was one of the few original keepsake artists. And I met him, and I had wanted to get into Hallmark. I was always an artist, and I wanted to work for Hallmark since I grew up in Kansas City. That had always been a dream of mine to work for Hallmark. And so when I met this Hallmark artist, I showed him some of my flat artwork, and he told me that I had talent, just not what they were looking for. And he invited me to have lunch with him at Hallmark one day. So I came down and met him in the keepsake studio. It was called Trim-A-Home at the time. And it was during the time of day when all the other artists had gone to lunch already. And so he showed me around the offices of the keepsake artists and kind of showed me kind of the things they were working on. And I thought it looked really fascinating. It looked like a lot of fun, and I wanted to try it. So I went home and I struggled some more with flat artwork. And then I thought, I'm going to give this three-dimensional stuff a try. And I put together a sculpture, and I showed it to Pete, and it just blew him away. He said, "You've got a career in sculpting if you want it." And I said, "I want it. Tell me what to do." So he kind of art directed me through a portfolio. I did a few sculptures, and I put together a portfolio, and he told me who to go to get my portfolio photographed and how to submit it for the job. And so I did that, and they wanted to hire me, but they didn't have room in the budget. That's how I ended up freelancing for 2.5 years before I was hired full time. And that's my story. That's how I started.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
So what is it like to be an ornament designer for Hallmark?
Well, that's kind of a broad question. It's fun, I can tell you that. Sometimes it's challenging, of course, like any job, and it's fun. The Keepsakes group is a great group to work with, and we're all like one big family. If I can describe my experience as a keepsake artist, that is the best way to say it. It's like we're one big family. And I've been with most of the people, or a lot of the people in the Keepsake studio, for longer than I've known some of my best friends. Some of them are my best friends. But it's a job that I love doing, and it's never the same thing twice. So I never have to do the same thing from day to day. It never gets boring, that's for sure. And I don't know, I just love it. It's a perfect job for me, and I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this job. Because I don't know how to do anything else.
Do you know approximately how many ornaments you've created? I have a spreadsheet somewhere in this room that's 16 pages of all ornaments that you did, and I just didn't get a chance to count them all. But
well, I haven't had a chance to count them all either, but I I think it's over 500.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
Well, thank you.
So how do you come up with the designs for specifically the Scooby-Doo ornaments?
Well, I work with my art director, and we also have to work with Warner Brothers in coming up with the concepts to do, and they have a style guide. And sometimes I'll go through their style guide and look for situations, and sometimes I will just make up situations, like the Christmas situations. If there's nothing like that in the style guide, I can just make something up, and that's how we basically come up with it. Every once in a while, we do something that's just straight out of the style guide, like a drawing that's a perfect situation for an ornament. And other times it's made up, but regardless, whether it's out of their style guide or if it's made up, it's got to look exactly like Scooby. So it's quite an approvals process we had to go through.
And how much creative freedom do you have in the designs?
Well, none with Scooby himself, but with whatever he's got with him. Like if it's a big ornament or whatever, they pretty much don't say anything about, and like the cookies or the gingerbread house or whatever it is he's playing with or doing, they don't ever say anything about that stuff. It's just they pick on Scooby himself. And if there's someone else with him, like Shaggy or one of the villains or whatever, they might say something about them, but not as much. It's usually just Scooby that they pick on.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have quite a bit of freedom as far as what he's doing or the stuff that he's doing stuff with.
Yeah. I'm assuming that anything that would also be gang or villain related would have to be pretty much by their concept.
Yes, yes. We do. We try to mix it up. Some years we do Christmas themed ornaments, and then other years we do like the TV show themed ornaments, like with the villains or whatever. And so we try to keep it pretty even. Some are Christmassy and some are not. Some are scary.
Yeah. People tend to really like the villain ones because I think as Scooby fans, we just really like to see the villains. You always see something with Shaggy and Scooby and the gang and the Mystery Machine, but the villains not always. So
Right.
nice.
We've done a few with the villains. One of my favorite ones was from last year or the year before, the one with the haunted house that Scooby was running from with the 3 villains in the windows.
Is it this one right here?
Yes, I love that. That was one of my favorites.
Mine too.
I got to choose which villains went in which windows.
Nice.
And yeah, so that was fun.
So did you get to pick out which villains or just where they were going to be placed on the ornament?
I chose the villains for to go with you know, good variety and color, so it would look good.
Can you give us kind of a walkthrough of the design steps and approval process for the Scooby-Doo ornaments?
Sure, I can give it to you in a nutshell. Well, once we come up with the concept, well, first of all, we have to come up with a concept, and I have to get it approved through Hallmark. And then once Hallmark approves it, then Warner Brothers has to approve it. So once that's done, then comes the sculpting of it. And so I will have to go through the same process with the sculpting. I'll do my sculpting, and then I'll get Hallmark to say okay on it. Then I have to take pictures of it all the way around, and I send my pictures out to Warner Brothers, and they take a look, and if there's anything that's not right about it, they let me know, and I'll have to make the corrections. And so once all the corrections are made, then they'll give the approval, then we'll get it molded, and then I paint the original, and then I have to go through the same process to get the color approved. So and then once that's approved, then we send it on its way to get mass produced.
What do you start with as far as sculpting it out of?
I start with wax. Most all of my sculpts are done with a wax. I warm up the wax in my oven on a very low temperature until it's like a paste-like substance, and then I will mold it into a rough shape first, and then it will harden again. It'll get cooled off and harden again really fast. And I have metal tools and some homemade tools, and I can scrape away at the wax. And I also have a hot tool that will get up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have to be really careful with that. And I can push the wax around. It'll melt right through the wax, and I can push it around and have different size tips and different shape tips for doing different things. So the really tiny tips are for the really fine detail. And so I'll just use a variety of different tools until I get the sculpt to where I want it to look like.
I would love to see a video of you sculpting something. It doesn't even have to be Scooby-Doo, just anything. That just sounds so cool. Wendy, have you ever worked with wax?
No, I've never worked with wax. I couldn't wait to hear what your process was, if it was clay or what. I've never even thought of doing it in wax. So I have to ask, does that mean that you melt it down when you're done and like the ornament has gone off and is being made? Do you take your original prototype and melt it down so you can reuse the wax, or do you keep the wax figure?
Not usually. I try to save them just for posterity because I liked it, and they're good to look at. And sometimes I'll use pieces and parts from different Scoobies that I've done in the past, and I can reuse some of the parts, like his tail can be reused different times, and I'll just go by my previous sculpts for size a lot of times. And but if I'm running really low on wax, I'll melt stuff down. But I don't like to. It just breaks my heart to melt my original artwork down.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, because like after my own heart, I wouldn't be able to melt it down either. And I love the thought that you maybe have a shelf somewhere with just all these beautiful wax figures like that. Oh, that sounds like Christmas to me.
Well, I don't actually have a shelf with all the wax figures. I have them in boxes, and I keep them. And back at headquarters, I have a cabinet that I keep a bunch of old waxes in, but I haven't seen that in a while. But most of my originals get destroyed in the molding process. And sometimes if I have spare time, I'll piece them back together again. But I have a lot of little baggies full of parts.
About how long does it take for you to do the original sculpting of an ornament?
Well, different ornaments take different amounts of time. Like so I work on Puppy Love series also, and that's one of my easier sculpts each year. And I can get a Puppy Love done in less than a week, a sculpt. But for a Scooby-Doo, it's more complicated, and it's more of a precise, exact art, and I have to get it just right. I have to please someone else other than just myself. I have to not only please Hallmark, but I have to please Warner Brothers. And so a Scooby sculpt originally might take me 2 to 3 weeks to sculpt the first time. And then by the time I get it submitted and to Warner Brothers and get any corrections that I might have to make, sometimes it'll take 2 to 3 months and all that time, because they don't always look at it right away. Sometimes it takes them quite a while to look at it before they get back to me. So yeah, it can take a while.
And how has the process changed as a designer over the years?
Well, back in the day when I did my first Scooby-Doo ornament, that was the one where Shaggy was riding on Scooby's back.
This one?
And I'm sure you have it right there. Yes, that's the first. That was the first Scooby ornament that I designed. Back in those days, we used to have to send the sculpts out to Warner Brothers in California. And a lot of times we would send artists and art directors with the sculpts. And we could do corrections right there in our hotel rooms. If we had to, we would take all of our tools, and we could stay up all night working on corrections for them. And we would take more than one sculpt. We might take other people's sculpts also, but they would send 1 or 2 artists with a bunch of sculpts for sometimes a bunch of Warner Brothers, sometimes Disney, sometimes Mattel. Sometimes they'd send us with a bunch for different licensors at the same time. But they had to send artists who are familiar with each of the properties. So I made many trips out to LA back in the day, but then technology kind of came around, and we started taking photographs and sending those digitally. And so then we didn't make any more approval trips. It was all done digitally, the sending of the photographs. But the sculpting was still the same for me anyway. I'm one of the traditional sculptors. There are 3 different types of sculptors or 3 different types of artists in my studio, and some of us do traditional sculpting, and some do digital sculpting, and some do drawings. And I'm just one of the traditional sculptors that still does everything by hand. And so since then, we did it all by photograph and sending digitally. And so then I make all my corrections here at work or at home that I work now the past year and a half, do it at home and take all the pictures at home and send them digitally. And that's how it's changed for me over the years. But for a lot of the artists, like I said, some of us just do drawings, and some of us do it all digitally, do it all on the computer. And so that has changed a lot for the department as a whole. So did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Were you a Scooby-Doo fan growing up?
Well, without totally giving away my age, Scooby-Doo wasn't around. He had not been born yet when I was a kid. But when my son was little, he was a huge Scooby-Doo fan, and he would watch the Scooby-Doo cartoons, and he would buy all the books that Scooby-Doo, you know, the Scooby-Doo books that they sold at the book fairs at school. He had all the books, and he'd read all the Scooby-Doo books, and he had to watch all the Scooby-Doo movies that they came out with, and he was a big fan. But he's 27 now. But now I'm more of a Scooby-Doo fan than he is.
Yeah. That's great. Before we continue with the questions that I have, Wendy and Cameron, do either of you want to say anything or have any questions?
I was actually going to ask. So I just got to say, I love this year's ornament. I went to Hallmark the other day and picked it up. I actually got 2.
Good.
I spoiled myself. I was like, I'm going to buy 2, one for the
Thank
shelf
you.
and one for the tree. So it's beautiful. I do have a question though. I'm a little curious.
Okay.
As far as the ornament this year, they said there's only 1. And I know in the past, there's always been 2 that Hallmark has released. Is there a reason that there's only 1 this year?
Probably, but it was not my decision, and I really don't know why there's only 1. So
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't really answer that.
No worries. But seriously, beautiful job. I mean, I
you.
collect I have all the ornaments up until now, and I just gotta say, beautiful job. And like I said,
Thank you so much, Cameron.
you said that the castle one was your favorite, and I only brought the new one and this one from 2019. And I just gotta say, I love when you hit it and it's got the sounds. And the creeper one, wow, they're really great. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Tracy, do you have any idea why there's only 1 Scooby ornament this year?
No, unfortunately, I sure don't. I know that a lot goes into planning the ornaments each year, and we do it pretty far in advance. And so I truly don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Wendy?
I was curious, when you did the very first Scooby ornament, was that a project that you were assigned? Like, were you asked by Hallmark, would you do a Scooby one, or did you get to request that? Is that is that something that you have to request every year, or are you known as the Scooby designer and so
Well,
it just automatically is what you get to do?
nowadays I'm known as the Scooby designer, so I get all the Scoobies. But when that first one came around, it was assigned to me. It was actually, I think it was one of Ken Crow's concepts. If you're familiar with Ken,
I know the name.
he was one of the major keepsake ornament artists who retired 2 years ago.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure that was one of his concepts, but he didn't have time to do it, so I got it, and I'm so glad.
We're glad too,
too.
because all of your designs are wonderful. We love the Scooby ones, and
Thank you.
I like you say, I'm sure that it's rigorous getting Warner Brothers because they're so particular. But let me just say that you nail Scooby's likeness
Oh, thank you.
every single time. I think that all three of us can attest that we buy a lot of Scooby-Doo merchandise.
Yes.
So we see a lot of artists' interpretations of what Scooby looks like. And there's no question, I think that you are, if not the best, at least among the best at capturing Scooby's likeness when you sculpt it. And I think I could speak for all of us that we're in awe of what you can do with wax and some paint. And we love all of your ornaments so much.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy. And
There's just
I
one
love
other
designing them.
Oh, we're glad. We're glad. One other question. When you
Mhm.
mentioned in the earlier days when you got to go on trips for approvals and things, and you said that sometimes you would take more than one ornament, but obviously not necessarily all of the artists that were responsible for each one were going on every trip. Were you
Right.
guys authorized to make changes to each other's
Yes.
ornaments?
Yes, we were.
And did you have to do very much of that, working on someone else's, making tweaks to it?
Yeah, quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Mhm.
And there were times when other people made tweaks to mine.
Mhm.
So it was just a give and take.
Yeah. And I just had one other comment because I tried to
Uh-huh.
collect what other non-Scooby ornaments of yours that I have, and I have to say that, and I'm gonna knock everything off the shelf. My favorite one will always be the Russian
Oh,
Barbie, because my grandma was from Russia and she got this as a gift
wow.
one year when she passed away. I got to take this home.
Oh,
And so it's always very special because she always commented on how wonderfully authentic the outfit looked.
wow.
And so
Really?
I just wanted to say that I love that one. And I would love someday, I know it's maybe not up to you, but your I Love Lucy ones, the sculpt on her face, you did the best job. I have quite a few Lucy ornaments, also some
Thank
from a
you.
different company, but yours, the two that I have, you nailed her face better than anybody else.
Thank you so much.
Can
She
you
was
tell
fun to
we
work
love
on
your
too.
ornaments?
Thank you.
So do you have a favorite ornament or series of ornaments that you've created?
Well, needless to say, Scooby is one of my favorites. I really, really enjoy working on animated characters. So Scooby and any of the Looney Tunes or the Mickey Mouse and his friends, any animated characters, they're my most favorites. But as far as series goes, or group of ornaments, of course, I love my Puppy Love series and my Happy Halloween series. I also really love the unofficial Harry Potter book series that I work on. Those are a lot of fun for me.
And I'm assuming that the process with a character, like a trademarked character, is different than the process of just something that you're creating just for Hallmark.
Right. Like the Harry Potter books that I just mentioned, we have to go through Warner Brothers to get those approved also, so that they go through the same approvals process that Scooby-Doo goes through. But the Puppy Love or the Happy Halloween or anything that's non-licensed, it's a lot easier to get those approved because we only have to go through our own art directors and our own people. So it's a lot easier and goes a lot faster.
Yeah. And how does it feel knowing that something that you have created brings so much joy to other people?
It feels great. I love it, and especially when I get to see the joy on those people's faces, like at the keepsake ornament conventions or in store signings that, you know, we haven't been able to do the past couple of years. But when I get to meet the fans in person, and they hand me their ornaments to sign, I just love to see the smiles on their faces, because I can see how much joy it brings to them. It just makes me feel so good.
There was a signing that you did somewhere in Pennsylvania. It was probably right before COVID, maybe. It wasn't too long before COVID. And I wanted to go, and I ended up getting sick and couldn't go, and I was so upset. So I'm super excited to have you here. Like, this is awesome that you're here.
Cool.
Wendy and Cameron, anything else that you guys want to ask Anita or Tracy?
I have a question.
Okay.
So I know that Hallmark does a lot of Snoopy, and nothing against Snoopy at all, but I just didn't know. I know that with Hallmark y'all just do like the Scooby ornaments. I didn't know, like, is there any like more Scooby stuff y'all will be like designing or releasing? Like I said, I'm a big Scooby fan. That's the reason I ask.
Well, there's I'm pretty sure they make Scooby cards, and they also make Hallmark ornaments that are not keepsake, but you can find them in, I think you can find them in Walmart and other places that don't sell keepsake ornaments. Also, Hallmark stores, they sell Hallmark ornaments, and I'm pretty sure they have Scooby-Doo ornaments out there in that are ornaments, but not keepsake ornaments.
Right.
They're just Hallmark ornaments. And I'm not sure what else they might have, but pretty sure that there's cards and other ornaments.
Awesome.
Do you design anything for Hallmark other than the ornaments, or are you strictly just ornaments?
Mostly it's just ornaments. I have done different things in the past here and there. It's been so long, I can't even think of what I've done besides ornaments, but I know that in the past I have designed a few things that are not keepsake ornaments.
Wendy, anything else that you would like to ask?
Yes. Anita, we have often mentioned on these panels that we do, speaking of particularly the animators and the background artists, the people who were responsible for essentially bringing Scooby-Doo to life. You know, the people that did the drawing and they did the painting and they gave life to this cartoon, this character that we've all grown to love so much. 52 years and we're still talking about Scooby, and we still love him just as much as probably more than what he was loved in the beginning, because there's so many people. And I'm always thinking how it's kind of a shame that the names of those people, specifically the people that did that work, are not as mainstream as other artists. You know, we don't see Scooby background art in museums or galleries. And I would like to just pass along that we all feel like that kind of artwork belongs in those places. And I would add to that the work that you do and the other sculptors and artists that work for Hallmark. And I'm so glad that Hallmark puts your name on the back of that box and always, you know, helps to promote you as a person and as the artist who is responsible for that. But even then, I still feel like you guys deserve out in the public. I wish that your name was more mainstream with the fans, you know, because there's no question that your work is so beloved by probably millions and millions of people. And if I had one wish in life right now, it would be that artists like you that give us so much joy in what you do could be more widely recognized within mainstream society, because you, without question, you deserve that.
Well, thank you,
Some
Wendy.
people might think this is dramatic, but if we know the names Leonardo da Vinci, Caravaggio, all of these people that had such a wonderful talent, there's no reason in the world that people like Anita should not also be up there, because as far as talent goes and the skill that you possess, I see no difference in that lineup of names. They all go together to me. And
Wow.
I wish that everyone knew your name on the street. You know, oh, you know those Scooby ornaments? Yeah, Anita makes those. Like, because you deserve that recognition from all of us that are out there, because you do bring so much joy to so many people, and we love you for it.
Wow, thank you, Wendy. I can't believe it almost brings a tear to my eye to know that you mentioned my name in the same sentence with Leonardo da Vinci and Caravaggio. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't put myself on that high of a pedestal, but it's kind of cool that you do. Thank you so much.
We can do it for you. And the fact that you don't do it yourself just all the more bolsters the fact that I'm right and you do belong there. You definitely
Oh, wow.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anita, do you have anything else that you would like to add, or anything else you want to tell us?
Nothing. I can't think of anything that I haven't already said, like that I love Scooby-Doo, and I love working on the Scooby-Doo ornaments. And I hope that I can continue to work on Scooby-Doo for as long as possible. I wish that there were 2 Scoobies in the line this year, but there's not.
Hey, well, you know what? We'll take one. And like I said, this one you designed is beautiful. So
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
Tracy, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I would just say thank you so much for having us. And I agree, Anita is just a wonderful person, and we are so lucky to have her skill and her gift and the way that she brings it to life in all of the keepsakes ornaments. So again, thank you to you all. This has just been wonderful to be a part.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you all so much for having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And thank you for answering our questions. And this is great. We love your work. So I hope that everyone in the Scooby community that watches this knows that your name is Anita Marra Rogers, and you designed the Scooby-Doo keepsake ornaments, and you know, you're just amazing. We love you.
Well, thank you.
So that is it for this Scooby panel. I just want to thank Anita, Tracy, Wendy, and Cameron, and be sure to check out the Hallmark Keepsake Ornaments. you for tuning in to another Scooby panel. I'm Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com. If you like these panels, please subscribe to my channel for more great discussions. A very special thank you to Hallmark Keepsake Ornament artist Anita Marra Rogers, Hallmark Marketing Director TRACY HUMPHREYS, artist, blogger, and Scooby collector WENDY BRYDGE, and Cameron Bates from Scooby-Doo and Cameron Too. Scooby and Shaggy were voiced by Scott Innes. Check out Scott's website, onescottshop.com. Scooby Panel is available in podcast form on most podcast platforms, or as a web series on YouTube. If you would like to support the Scooby Panel, please go to support.ScoobyAddicts.com. Scooby Addicts art by Will Davenport, video editing by Nikki Blake, music composed and performed by Bovine Nightmares. Please join us next time for our discussion on our favorite collection pieces.